All right, I'm in my truck after here at my local theater after seeing Deadpool 2, and my initial reaction: go fucking see Deadpool 2. Cue the music.
Now, let's go get our fuck on. Don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years. I'm rocking my fears, putting suckers in fear, making the tears rain down like a monsoon. Listen to the bass go.
As you can see from the intro, that I went to see Deadpool 2 yesterday. This is Rob from the Rum Rants podcast. Hi, how you doing? And I am here to talk briefly about Deadpool 2. It won't take very long, because I'm sure when the guys come over, they're going to want to talk about it ad nauseum. And as to my earlier statement at the opening video of this back in the truck, have you guys seen Deadpool 2 yet? No? Okay, turn this off, get off your ass, and go see Deadpool 2 right now. I'll give you the count of 3, and then I'm going to spoil this bitch. 1, 2, 3. All right, so Deadpool 2. Absolutely recommend it. Just go see it. Not going to get too much into the details. Like I said, the guys are going to come over, and we're going to talk about it later. Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool. He nails it again. He's still funny. He's still pretty much the same as he was. He's even more tortured in a way, which I don't know how many more times they can do that. It's per my personal opinion. They should make 1, 2, and then X-Force and leave it at that as a trilogy. But again, we'll see. Some folks are grousing about the money, saying that it didn't make as much money or didn't do as well at the box office as it did when Deadpool 1 came out. However, I think it's really unfair because, for one, Deadpool 1 kind of came out in a vacuum. It came out on a 3-day weekend. It was a superhero film, but nothing like anything we'd ever seen. Everyone was anticipating it so much. It was really almost not crowd-funded, but definitely crowd-driven with the leaked footage, as it were. So it was such a big shock that it was fun to go and see it. Now, this one, on the other hand, is opening a weekend before a 3-day weekend. It definitely had the best Monday, I think, of any R-rated movie. It definitely had the best Tuesday, I think, of any R-rated movie. They even make the joke in the film that they talk about Christ and Deadpool in the same sentence, Passion of the Christ and Deadpool, right, like this. They even make that crack in the show, and which I think is really funny. There was nothing off limits. DC took a hit in this movie. And it's more than just in the trailer. Before I get into any specific characters, I will say that this movie had the best marketing and trailer campaign I've ever seen, because what was in the trailer wasn't necessarily what was on the film, and usually that's a bad thing. It was not a bad thing in this case. It was total misdirection. Scenes that were shown, actions that were taken, things that happened did not even occur in the film, and it was a good thing because it's similar to when Infinity War came out, and there's that great kind of splash scene of Captain America running, and then off to his left somewhere is the Hulk, and the Hulk was never in that scene. It was the Hulk Buster, which was totally a misdirect, and I can see why they did it that way. Deadpool pretty much did the same thing, primarily with X-Force. We'll get into that in just a second. Like I said, Ryan Reynolds is great. Josh Brolin as Cable, outstanding. At first, I almost thought he was playing another Thanos, but he's different. I feel that he was playing sort of Terminator and then Terminator 2. Very Terminator in the first part of the film, very driven, very black and white, very I'm going to kill this fucker, nothing matters. And then as the movie went on, it was more like T2, where he started developing some empathy and started realizing he couldn't do things alone and learning. He was a learning computer. So that was kind of his story arc. Morena, I'm not going to pronounce her name correctly, Baccarin, I feel bad for not doing it, because she is such a sci-fi mainstay. Firefly, Stargate, V, Gotham, now Deadpool. She's been stunning for like 20 years, which is insane. And spoilers, like I said, she dies in the first act, which kind of we all expected. Some of us were kind of wondering, well, Domino's coming in, so what's going on there? I can say right now they didn't really touch on that at all. They didn't really hint. They showed that Deadpool had a great respect for Domino by the end of the film. Julian Dennison, who was Fire Fist, which they even make fun of in the movie, is the worst superhero name ever. He was from Hunt for the Wilder People, is a New Zealander. He was very believable, very cute, very funny, and very empathetic in terms of you understand why he's the way he is. He's being raised in a home. I'm wondering why he's not in the Xavier house anyway, because he's obviously very powerful. But there's another kid's home I forget what it's called. I'm sure it's in the comics. So there's another kid's home that tortures them and abuses them. It turns out later you find out Domino was from there too, and she has a little catharsis involved in that. But it basically, the kid's being hunted by Cable, this kid in the future who's a pyro type character, has a Firestar kind of a kind of fire powers, obviously fire powers, fire fist, which I still can't help but laugh because every time I hear that name, I think of Deadpool making fun of it, even Vanessa making fun of it later. Well, it pretty much starts out like you think it would. I think the death of Vanessa early on, before even the credit scene, kind of ruined the credit scene. The credit scene in the first one was so great because it made so much fun of everything, and this one does too. But I found myself feeling off center, like it was a Bond beginning. It was very much a James Bond. It was totally rip off of that. And if you go back and look at some of the James Bond ones, especially some of the Sean Connerys, the first act isn't always the Pierce Brosnan action bit that it was later on in years. Early on, it was some nasty stuff. It was folks getting murdered. I forget which film, Bond's wife gets killed. It's kind of, and then they branch off into the whole credit scene, which was funny, and the credits were kind of cute. But I found myself just being distracted with the fact of Vanessa's death. So I'm like, okay, I didn't think they were going to do that, but all right. So I do want to say about Zazie Beetz as Domino. Steals the show. She is awesome. She is standalone awesome. Just give her own fucking TV show and be done with it. She is just, it's so amazing. She's so cool, arguing back and forth with Deadpool about how luck is a power or it's not. And I don't know how cinematic it can be. I mean, some of the things in the trailer were in the film, but they were put in different spots. I think that they did it quite well. TJ Miller's still there as Weasel, but he wasn't there very much. I'm glad they kind of toned back on the Weasel bit, because TJ's kind of a one-trick pony. He just kind of gives, and he's great at it. He gives that kind of deadpan delivery, but he wasn't in it as much, I'd say. Brianna Hildebrand, who was Negasonic Teenage Warhead, which, unlike Fire Fist, is like the coolest superhero name ever, which they even say in the first film. And she's tagged along by a new character named Yukio by, I'm not going to pronounce this correctly, Shiloh Katsuna. I'm not going to pronounce that. She's absolutely adorable. And she instantly becomes, My Little Pony best friends with Deadpool. They just think they're so, it's not a freaking frack or anything. It's just she's a nice foil for both Negasonic and for Deadpool. Deadpool thinks she's wonderful, but wonders why she's dating Negasonic, which Negasonic totally has a little sister vibe thing going on. He builds X-Force. You saw the trailer with Terry Crews. You saw Rob Delaney as Peter. You saw a couple, there's a bunch of other cameos in here. You saw him put together X-Force. It all pretty much plays out like it does in the trailer. There isn't much surprise there. There's one dude called Vanishing Guy or Vanishing Man that they never show, so you're always kind of wondering, is he actually there? Finally, they get in the plane scene where he does the X-Force bit. Isn't that derivative? And there's a harness, a parachute harness just hovering in the air, sitting there. It's like, oh, Vanishing Guy's there. Okay, that's fine. It even says something to him that he doesn't ever answer. He never speaks. Peter, on the other hand, like I said, played by Rob Delaney, is a little worried. I don't have any powers. This is kind of safe. He's like, oh, yeah, you're fine. It's X-Force. Don't worry about it. They all jump out of the plane and proceed to all die horribly. It's in the worst ways imaginable. Terry Crews smacks straight into a bus. A couple of the other characters, the vomit spitting guy gets eaten up by a wood chipper, but before he dies, he vomits, and he kills Peter by ripping his arm off by accident, and he dissolves. The kind of ninja dude gets hit by a helicopter and splatters all over the place. Apparently his blood is blue, which was really funny. I forget what he called himself. But meanwhile, Domino's completely on mission. She's heading toward, I should preface this a little bit. Before they even get to the X-Force part, Vanessa dies. Poole tries to kill himself. He's saved by Colossus, who drags him back to the Xavier place. All these little jokes ensue of all these little body parts and everything, and that's where you meet Negasonic and Yukio and everybody else. And he bitches again about how there's no other X-Men around and goes tooling around in Professor X's wheelchair, which is just outstanding. The X-Men make an appearance for a split second, but it's hard to say whether that was shot for that or somehow repurposed from other footage, because it looks a little out of place. But it's the McAvoy generation, which I think would have been funnier to bring the Stewart generation in, but they used the McAvoy one. And as a total one-off, where kind of Deadpool does a double take and like, what was that? And they shut a door and they're not there anymore. So he decides to join the X-Men as a trainee. That's where you see the trailer. He's got the X and the jersey on. It says trainee along the back of it. He keeps saying, I'm an X-Man. And behind him, Negasonic's always trainee, giving him the finger. And so, of course, they respond to this kid, Fire Fist, holding a bunch of people kind of at bay, like the cops and the people in the hospital and whatnot. And it doesn't take very long for Deadpool just walk right up to him like an ass and basically ask him what's going on, and finally gets out of him that the little pedophile, creepy fucking school headmaster and all his little white coated minions are all abusing these kids. And of course, Deadpool goes ape shit and ends up killing someone. And of course, Colossus stops him. They arrest him, and they use what I'd say is probably an overused trope in a lot of comic books: the collar or the band or the suit or something that takes away their powers. In Flash, it's the whatever little cyclotron thing they've got them all hidden in. And I wonder how they feed them and how they poop. But anyway, so they put this brace on him. They send him to jail, take his suit off. Of course, instantly, as soon as his powers are going, his cancer comes back. The kid tries to make friends with him because he saved his life. He won't do it. He's kind of bitter. He's waiting to die. He wants to be back with Vanessa again. And he tells the kid, look, don't try and fight the biggest guy in the yard. You're just going to get your ass kicked and turn into somebody's bitch. Make friends with the biggest dude here that isn't me and, stick with him. And he's like, well, who's that? And they hear kind of a noise. The whole place rumbles. And he says, well, the biggest dude in here is downstairs in the basement. There's a monster down there they don't tell you about. Time goes on, a riot happens, Cable shows up at the prison, the kid runs away downstairs later on and gives his food, I should say, he goes down and gives his food he hides down there to whatever's in the big cell. And it's just a bam on the wall, like nothing, they don't ever say who it is or where it comes from or whatnot. Sure enough, and then they kind of go into this whole convoy thing like they did in, was it X-Men Last Stand? A similar kind of setup, actually, a truck with all these little cells in it and whatnot. And that's when X-Force gets killed. I kind of jumped ahead a little bit. The only person who makes it on there is Domino, of course, because she's just flat unkillable and she's just the coolest ever. Even Pool's like, how the fuck did you get up there? He's all bummed out because everybody's dead and he doesn't understand how Domino made it out alive, so he steals a spree scooter and starts tearing after him. Meanwhile, Domino's whooping some ass, just fucking people up, and it's just insane. Cable, of course, shows up. Then you see the scene where he's slicing the bullets out of the air and he gets shot. They go for a couple extra beats on that. That's in the it's not in the trailer, and it keeps going. It's funny. I even tried to do it today instead of yesterday, so it would kind of soak into my mind because there is a lot of stuff going on. Eventually, though, the convoy wrecks. You find out who the big bad is inside the truck. It's the Juggernaut, bitch. And way better than they did it in Last Stand. Although I dig the dude that played it in 2006. I forget his name, top of my head. He's in a bunch of movies. I especially like him in what's the Nick Cage one? I forget. Doesn't matter. But they decide to have him as a CGI character, and they even kind of nod at that later, like, "Oh, there's a big CGI fight coming" when Colossus shows up. Well, he gets the X-Force together. The first thing he does is go by the Xavier School and try to get Colossus and Negasonic to help him. They won't talk to him. He holds a cell phone above his head that plays "In Your Eyes" with Peter Gabriel. Colossus just rolls over. It's totally the scene out of Say Anything. So fast forward a little bit, they topple the truck over. The kid decides to go off with Juggernaut, like, fuck you, Wade. Meanwhile, Wade's torn in half, literally, like he's holding himself up and his feet are behind him, yelling at the kid to come back. Then of course they do the same joke as they did in the first one when his hand got cut off. His legs start to grow back with their little baby legs, and he's doing the Porky Pig thing, which of course TJ Miller shows up and Domino shows up and hell, even Cable shows up. And this is the part where the trailer kind of really drifts you off into another section. Anybody who knows Deadpool and Cable knows that they end up being a team, but they don't really play into it until this very moment when suddenly Cable shows up, everyone pulls out their guns, he's like, dude, I need your help. And that's when the gear shifts. And you're like, okay, that's cool, like, I buy it. Brolin does such a deadpan delivery, and like Terminator, he starts out really stiff and then kind of gets nice, a little bit nicer, but never quite nice. But he starts to like Deadpool a little bit, even though it kind of gives him shit. And I won't get into too many of the jokes. A lot of the jokes are in there. I will say this, though, the part that I skipped, the best death scene in the X-Force death scene is the one with the Vanishing Man. I'm not going to spoil that for anybody. It's just fucking funny. And it'll catch you off guard if you're not ready for it. So you got to watch it when he comes down, hits the power poles, take a good look. It's really hilarious because it reveals who it is. Great cameo. Some other great cameos in this. Obviously, Terry Crews is Bedlam. He wasn't in there for very long, but Alan Tudyk and Matt Damon play a couple of rednecks in the middle of nowhere sitting on a tailgate discussing the advantages and disadvantages of toilet paper versus baby wipes when Cable shows up from the future and then steals their truck and their beer and takes off. It's just, I didn't even realize it was Matt Damon. I recognized Alan, but it wasn't late until I checked the credits that it was Matt Damon. I was like, holy shit. Like, apparently he's just making random appearances in Marvel movies now, which I think is really fun. I could do it. I would totally do that. But so anyway, Cable comes, says, "I need your help. You let the Juggernaut out. You're a bitch." And meanwhile, they keep making a bunch of penis jokes. Every time he shifts his legs or crosses them, he does the Sharon Stone thing. And at one point, they flat out show a micro penis. Like he's got full body from the waist up, full grown man, but from down here, it's like a 5-year-old kid, and that's kind of creepy. But you stop there and go, "Oh yeah, that's a grown dude." Like you have to remind yourself you're not looking at some kid's penis. It's really bizarre, and it is funny. He hops down off the couch, and of course he's like 5 feet tall. Forgive me for not remembering the blind gal's name. I should have written it down. I really don't remember her name, but she's back and she's funny. And the jokes with her are almost as good as the first one. I think the IKEA joke was really one of the greatest things ever. I can't even get into it. The best joke, of course, being on the trailer is the pity dick joke. So flashing forward, they go to the school. The kid decides to take Juggernaut to the school. Why Juggernaut's just going along with this kid, I have no idea, other than just being grateful. They make a couple cracks about him being Xavier's brother and that he wears a helmet and to block Charles from his head. And he's like, "Yeah, but he's in a wheelchair. I figure it's all fair," or something like that. It's really bizarre. Well, the creepy warden or the headmaster of the school and all the little creepy pedophile aides that he has, they come in there and fuck them all up. And Cable basically says to Deadpool, "Look, this guy's a killer. He's a killer in my time. He destroyed my family. He destroyed a bunch of other people. He loves killing, and after he gets a taste for it, he doesn't stop." Deadpool makes a deal with him. "Give me 30." Well, actually, Cable gives him 30 seconds. Deadpool's like, "What the fuck?" Well, long story short, they go through an awesome fight scene. Colossus finally does show up. He and Juggernaut go at it. Colossus starts fighting a little dirty. Deadpool gets him to swear, and he keeps swearing, which is a little funny. Meanwhile, Negasonic's just kind of standing around looking pissed, giving a finger. Finally, just whoops some guy's ass. At one point, when they're killing all the bad guys at the school, all the white coated, lab techs or whatever, he's like, "Oh, we're besties. We're best buds now. Only best buds kill pedophiles together," or some shit. It's just really bizarre. Well, in the end, Wade ends up sacrificing himself to save the kid. The kid changes his mind because of it. Now, I should have mentioned earlier, as is true and convenient with most time travel things, Cable only has one way in and one way back. Only enough fuel, quote unquote. I think that's a dig at Star Wars, by the way, to get back to his own time. And at the end, when Wade dies, finally, after about 10 minutes of, "Oh, not dead yet." Fucking great shit. He finally does die. He goes into the afterlife. He finds Vanessa, and they're there and happy. And Cable just kind of looks at him and decides to go back and change history. So he jumps back in time a little ways, ends up putting Wade had given this little skee ball token to Vanessa for their anniversary, and he hides the token in his right where the bullet went through, because you remember where it went through in the suit, and it stops the bullet and whatnot. And so he ends up sacrificing himself and still reaching the kid, but not actually dying. So then they become the whole family thing. Well, as far as post credits are concerned, this is where it gets really meta. He does the typical fourth wall break stuff. I don't think they do it quite as well in this one as they did in the first one, but they go bigger in this one. He does more of a Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe, where he hops from reality to reality. He decides to start going back in time and fixing all the wrongs. It starts out the first early post-credit scene. It's Negasonic and Yukio fixing the time device, like doing something with it to make it work again. And Deadpool's just kind of making wisecracks. And Negasonic's like, "I think we made a big mistake." So he starts to jump through history and change things. He saves Vanessa first off, which you think it's going to be a blooper reel, because it's that same scene with him and the butter knife going, "I hope you sharpen the butter knife." And you figure, oh, that must be in a cut line. Nope. He turns and kills the guy, saves Vanessa. Then he jumps back and kills himself as Deadpool and Wolverine Origins. Then he jumps back again and kills himself as Ryan Reynolds, taking the role of Green Lantern. And I really wish they'd stop bashing Green Lantern. It's not that bad of a movie. I kind of dig it, actually. I wish they'd continued. But anyway, Deadpool is way better. So he basically undoes all the negative shit that happens. So they can go anywhere they want from this point forward. I still think, though, they should just do X-Force as the third in a trilogy and leave it at that. I think that they don't really need to overburden that. Some of the guys and I made some comments at our last recording that it would be cool if Deadpool could just show up, maybe even Daredevil could just show up in one of the Infinity War movies, just walk on and walk off, make some smart comment. At the end of this show, I'll have a post-credit scene of a comment that one of us made, that Jeff had made about that very scenario, which was quite humorous. Stay for the credits. There is no post-credit scene, at least not that they showed us. But the music alone, there's 3 major songs in the credits. The first one, of course, is Cher, If I Could Turn Back Time, which fucking was perfect. The next one was a redo of Deadpool from the first one, Sexy Motherfucker, but they changed it to X-Force, and the lyrics, basically tells the whole movie in these hilarious lyrics. We were all just sitting there just dying laughing. There's nothing going on screen except for some little cartoon pictures. The very at the end, they play a song that we'd caught in the fight scene with Juggernaut earlier. It's like a Mozart's Requiem mass kind of thing, but it's about Juggernaut, and it's about getting kicked to the balls, basically. It's really funny, and they play it a lot clearer in the credits. So that's Deadpool 2. Go see it. I'm probably going to see it again. I'm definitely going to own the damn thing. The guys and I are probably going to beat it to death when they come over in a couple of weeks, so we can talk about Solo and, of course, talk about Deadpool. That's also another reason why it didn't open on the 3-day weekend. Disney's like, nah, we've got Solo coming out that weekend. You're staying back here. And I'm sure Fox, now that Fox is owned by Disney, but I'm sure at the time even Fox was like, yeah, sure, we'll stay back here. We don't want to fuck with Solo. A lot of deal was made out of the first lesbian gay character, Negasonic, obviously being lesbian. I saw some articles on Forbes that talks about how they can get away with that because I guess there's an international market that really frowns on that. I thought maybe we were the ones who were bad at that and the rest of the world was way better, but I guess I'm wrong as far as that's concerned. But then I think about it, there's other countries that probably would be more conservative that wouldn't care for that. But I guess it doesn't matter because they make a lot of their money stateside. They've been doing quite well. I think they're eventually going to pass the original eventually. I just think it's going to be a slow start. I think a lot of folks are waiting to go to the movies for the 3-day weekend so they can see Solo and Deadpool in the same weekend. I really do think that's going to be the case. So if you like what you hear, on our Rum Rants podcast, please give us a click, a subscribe. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Also a new show coming out, Gen X Rewind, that I'll be hosting. It'll be a web show I'll be posting on Facebook. And please come back again and see us. In our end, like I said, stay tuned for the post-credit sequence. I'll cut this part out. Like I said before, stay tuned for a post-credit treat. Have a nice night. Actually, you know what would crack me up even more than just having Deadpool show up for a second? Is have fucking Daredevil standing next to him. And they just kind of go, you're like, no, I'm out of here. Like, all right, see you later. Both walk off. Like, this is some God stuff. We're out of here.
You already got the red suit. We're good.
Or have them standing face by face and have Daredevil reach up and touch him on the face. Because, Deadpool would just the type of guy to be like, and all you'd see is his eyes blink and then turn and walk away. Maybe with a boner.